Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Sachiran.
Hey Krishna. I had some kids. So we connected nicely today. Usually the network is a bit like it takes a while, and it was a good signal today. So,
Yeah, I have help.
hey.
That's why things are working fine.
Oh,
I have help today. That's why things are working fine. I have an assistant.
okay. A big thanks to whoever's assisting you on that side.
Yeah, me, technology, we don't gel.
Yeah, I know. The technology can be such a trip, eh? Especially with these,
I know.
these live streams. But anyway,
Always to remind me that I'm
eh?
not the controller. Yeah,
Oh,
just to remind me that I'm not the controller of things.
yeah.
What technology is there for.
Eh, yeah. But at least the signal is good for now. When it rains here, it gets a bit, the connection drops a bit. So hopefully we can get through the session.
Yeah.
So I think Instagram is still sort of like, informing all the viewers and all of that kind of thing. And but we'll
Mm-hmm.
keep the video afterwards in any case. And I think
Okay.
Lamise is with us online. So Hare Krishna,
Yes.
Lamise.
Hurry, Louise.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start then. I guess we'll just get
Mm-hmm.
into the whole program. So,
Yeah.
just for a little bit of an introduction, Nilacala has been practicing Bhakti Yoga since 2011, right? And this past year,
Yes.
she's been in the Cape Town temple, and she's been serving in the gift shop, and she's been an admin officer for Govindas, and she's also a pujari, and so it means she's involved in some deity worship. And she's also, over the past years, she's been part of the communications for the Soweto Rath Yatra. And by profession, she is a teacher. And she's taken a break from that for the past 2 years. And in a short while, she'll be starting looking after a 2-month-old baby and some bearing.
Yeah. Excited but also scared.
Yeah, they're so cute when they're that age. Yeah, so
Yeah, they can't turn back.
yeah, they can't like go around and stuff. They're just kind of stuck there.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I guess to kick it off with the first question is like part of our Sunday series is Bhakti Journey is basically how is it that you came to Bhakti? What was your story?
Uh, well, I don't know how much time we have, but it's quite a long story. I'll
Oh,
try to
we've
be
got
short as possible.
time.
But it started out in 2010.
Mhm.
The movie Eat, Pray, Love was going to come
Oh
out,
yeah, yeah.
and I'd heard like great reviews about the book and whatnot. And I like to read the books before I watch the movies, just to see like if there are differences, which one's better, that sort of thing. So at the time, I was like very poor. So I looked up the book prices online. I couldn't afford it. I was just like, I can't spend this much money on this book. But somehow I had a friend, and she used to have these Sunday hangouts at another friend's place in Cape Town. I lived in Stellenbosch at the time. And then we were on the way to this hangout this one Sunday, and we came across a secondhand bookseller. And there it was, Eat, Pray, Love, 60 Rand secondhand copy. I spent my last 60 bucks on that. I told my friend, you're going to have to pay for my way back home because I'm going to spend my last 60 bucks on this book. I've been wanting it for so long. So she was a great friend, and she paid for my lift back home and everything. So for those who are not familiar with the book, it's divided in 3 parts. This lady has what seems like materially a very successful life. But one night she just wakes up and she just doesn't want it anymore. She feels like there's something missing. So the book is divided in 3 parts. She goes on this 3-part spiritual journey. And she goes to Italy, India, and Indonesia. And I really resonated with the middle part, which was in India for some reason. And so I came from a Christian background, but I couldn't really like call myself a Christian. I wasn't really practicing and all that. But for some reason, like I had this conflict with myself about like the Eastern side of things and like the Christian side of things. So I wanted to do yoga, and those who know me know I don't like anything that makes me sweat and stuff. So I was like also like weirded out, like why do I want to do yoga? It's like a form of exercise and whatnot. So yeah, so then I went through this crisis where I was like, is yoga going against or whatnot? But then eventually, after like a month or so of going through that, I was just like, I'm gonna try it out, and if it's not for me, it's not for me. I'll leave it and whatnot. And so I went to Stellenbosch to study, and this one day I'm just in the student center. I wasn't aware that it's Society's Fair Day. So I was going to the spa, I think, and then I just came back a different way than I. And yeah, so I get to the top of the stairs, and I just see this banner, and it says something something, but I see the word yoga. So it was the Spirituality, Philosophy, and Yoga Society, and it was these two lovely devotees, Shraddha and Hari Vilas, and they were the ones doing the service of signing up students. So I was just like, okay, I'm interested in yoga. So I have a conversation with her, and I tell her I've never done yoga. Do they have beginners classes? And she's like, yeah, and we also have yoga mats if we don't have. And then she tries to tell me about like the other programs they have, and I was like really rude to her because I was just like, nope, nope, I'm already dipping too far with the yoga. It's too much for me. And then I did that. I think I only went to 5 yoga classes that whole year. But after a few months of meeting them, I was like, oh, I'm paying this money for this society, and I'm not really exploring every aspect of it. Let me try out like the rest of the program. So I went to a session called, what's it called? I forgot what it's called now. But basically, it's a philosophical discussion like on the Bhagavad Gita and stuff. No? For students that are not really familiar with it, so they make it accessible and easy for them to familiarize themselves with it. So I went through this program, and obviously because I'd missed the introductory classes to the program, I didn't know anything about anything. So I get there and they're chanting this mantra, and I'm creeped out because I'm like, what is going on here? Who are these people? They're really strange. I'm never coming back here. So I was like, no, I'll just stick with the yoga and whatnot, which I wasn't really attending anyway. And so I decided that no, I'm not coming back to this program. But right before I left, someone convinced me that I should stay for dinner. So I stayed for dinner, and at the time, I just transitioned to vegetarianism, but I couldn't cook. I couldn't cook like to save my life. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna come back, but I'm gonna come back at the end of this program so I can get the free meal. At least once a week, I have a decent vegetarian meal and stuff. So I did that. I think I did that for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then someone else like caught me. It was Hari Vilas again. He's like, before I tried to sneak out, he's like, oh, we've got books and stuff. So I liked reading. So remember, I got in touch with everyone through a book. So I like reading and stuff. So I was like, okay, I'll give him 2 minutes of my time to tell me about the books. And I got 4 books that evening, one of them being the Bhagavad Gita and the other one, The Science of Self-Realization, Chant and Be Happy. And to this day, I cannot remember what was the 4th book. But yeah, so then I started reading, and I really resonated with the Science of Self-Realization. I had struggled growing up in a Christian background with getting the answers that I felt I needed, like who is God? Like how do I connect with him? Is it a him? All that stuff. And I was always unfortunately told that I must just like not question things, I must just have faith. And at the time I didn't even know what that meant. What does having faith mean? Somehow all my questions got answered in the Science of Self-Realization by Srila Prabhupada. So then I was still kind of skeptical about the people, but I was like, okay, the book makes sense, but the people are still weird. I know not, but somehow I was like, okay, let me be open to new experiences. I feel like there's something to this philosophy, this book, and everything. So yeah, and look at me now, almost 10 years later. And
Wow.
it started with a random meal and someone just saying, "Hey, you've got books," and here I am.
And oh, so on that Eat, Pray, and Love, did you watch the movie in the end after you read the book?
Yes, I did. I watched the movie, and it wasn't a disappointment. Usually,
Yeah,
movies are really done
movie.
badly, but it was a really good movie. Like they really tried to keep true to the book and stuff. They made minor changes here and there,
Yeah.
but I enjoyed it.
It was Julia Roberts, right?
Yes, Julia Roberts, and through that movie, she ended up being like dabbing into like Hinduism and stuff.
Yeah,
So she refers to herself as a Hindu
yeah. I saw a
now
post of her
as a result of the work.
the Bhagavad
Yeah.
Gita the other day or something like that, eh? Yeah, but that's such a
Yes.
cool story. So, you mentioned how like initially when you saw the like the meditation session, I was like, this is a bit weird. Now what's happening? So, how did you eventually like sort of like how did your mind like kind of acclimatize to the whole meditation thing?
I suppose reading Chant and Be Happy, which was one of the books that I initially got when I got introduced to the books, that explained the mantra, what is the meaning of the mantra, why the mantra is chanted, and that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
And oddly enough, the mantra is repeated numerous times within the book, but for some reason, I didn't chant it. Like I chanted it the first time, and then I kept skipping it and stuff because I think I just had that like really strange experience at first.
Yeah,
So I tried to avoid it, and it was the scary thing for me. But like I said, like the science of self-realization really like answered all my other
yeah,
questions that I couldn't
yeah.
get um, from
Gotcha.
the Chant and Be Happy
Oh,
book. Yes, that one I
yeah,
recommend
yeah.
it to everyone,
Somewhere.
like anyone and everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah, so, but also because the mantra is also chanted through music,
yeah,
I really like music and stuff. So I got to somehow merge my like of music, and through that I got to familiarize and understand the meaning behind the mantra and all of that. And
yeah.
over the years, got comfortable with it, and yeah.
Yeah, the mantra, eh? And you were mentioning the prasad. So what was like that
Yeah.
experience of transitioning into vegetarianism and then when you actually experienced the cooking from the yoga programs? And did it sort of like help you out in terms of like how to make your own preparations and that?
Yeah. So, with the prasadam, which is the sanctified food that I was introduced to, um, I I think the person who cooked is not live on here, so I can say this. I hope they don't find this recording, but it didn't look good. They got better with the cooking over the years, but somehow it didn't look good.
Nila,
And everybody who knows me knows that I'm finicky about things, right? But for some reason, I decided I'm not going to be rude and I'm going to try it out, even though it didn't look good. But there was really something different about it. Even though it didn't look good, there was really like something like nourishing. And besides nourishing, there was something else. I just couldn't at the time like tap into it. And then later on, I found out that it's sanctified food and there's a way to cook it and um, with a certain consciousness and all that. So that got me to also like um, take those practices into my own personal life and also understand that like making a meal isn't just chopping up things and putting them in a pot.
yeah.
Like there's meditation
Mhm.
in a way. So yeah, so that helped me with that. But like I said, I knew when I tasted it, even though it didn't look nice, that there's something different, something special about it.
And do you remember what the prep was? I mean, babe,
It was kitchen.
I thought it
It was
was kitchen.
it was green. It was like green and it looked like like baby food, like pureed
Yeah.
green something that appetizing at all. But it was kitchery. It
Yeah.
is kitchery.
I can imagine it. Yeah, it's sort of like liquidy and green, and it's like, what's that? We've got a Nanga online as well. You know, she does a lot of cooking and stuff as well. So I'm thinking about food as well, seeing her. And like,
Yeah. Can't not think about
yeah.
food. Can't not think about food.
And so, what would you say is your favorite prep at the moment now? Like after all your experiences at different festivals and all kinds of things, like it's not kitschy maybe, but what is it now?
I like kitchery. Kitchery is very versatile.
Yeah.
You can I used to say like I could literally live in kitchery every day. But this question you're asking me like got me into a bit of trouble recently.
Oh.
Someone wanted to make something for my birthday, and they also asked me the same question: What is my favorite meal?
Mm.
And guess what it is? Dum dum dum. Roasted or steamed broccoli.
Oh.
And they were just like, out of all the things in the world, that's what you like? I said, yes, especially if it's roasted, but I'll take it steamed as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is my favorite.
Salt and black pepper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pardon?
With some salt and black pepper also. It's quite nice.
Yeah, salt, black pepper, olive oil in the oven, good to go, nothing complicated.
Mm.
And then I am heaven,
I like.
total heaven.
And and of sweets, I mean, I'm sure there's some kind of sweet that stands out.
Actually, I'm not
You
a
serious?
sweet person.
Or
Occasionally, I'll dabble into that side of the world and stuff, but yeah, my body can't really like
yeah.
process like sugar well, especially like late at night.
Oh
So yeah, no, not a sweet person. Also, a question that gets me in trouble because everyone's like, "What's wrong with you?"
yeah.
And I'm like, "Nothing's wrong with me. I'm just different."
But it's such a cool story. I like how, like, you were, I mean, at the very base of it, you were inquiring, like, your mind frame was that you were basically searching for something. And then you
Yeah,
found something, and you found a lot of value in the literature. So I take it like at the
yeah,
moment also, and consistently throughout the years of your practice in Bhakti, literature has obviously like become a strong part of your practice as well. Would you like to share like
yes.
how you've come to value it, and like what about it is so distinctive from other literature, you know?
Like if my personal experience from reading, especially Srila Prabhupada's
Mm-hmm.
books, is that he makes everything, he brings it down to a practical level,
Yeah.
like a very simple practical level. Like I'm not, I initially went to Stellenbosch to study a BSc course in winemaking, believe it or not. And yeah, I know. Um, but that was like 2 years before I actually met the devotees. So I did
Yeah.
that for a year and then I decided it's not for me and I dropped out. And then the next time I went back, that's when I met everyone and I got in touch with the philosophy of Bhakti Yoga. But so I realized when I changed my course to a BA course that I like stories. I like reading stories. So even within like Srila Prabhupada's books or the philosophy of Bhakti Yoga, there's always stories. Like
Mm.
there's like the straightforward verses, philosophy and whatnot, but there's always stories and stuff. And I really like that. And coming from a teaching background and teaching children,
Mm.
that's also like something that was like a great resource for me to like tell a story to help bring things to a practical level for my students and all that. So yeah, stories. That's my thing. If you have a story to tell, I'm your girl. I will listen.
I like that. I really like that story aspect of it, because it sort of draws you into the literature, but it gives you a lot of substance as well. And
Yes.
I was actually just thinking about the same thing this today quite a bit, like about the Bhagavatam. that there's so many like histories presented within the Bhagavatam, but then when we actually read it introspectively, there's so much to it that we can actually grow within just reading it. Like there's so much of guidance
Yes.
coming from it. So would you like to share
And
your favorite Bhagavatam story? Breathe.
oh my gosh, you can't ask me that.
It's
I have so
I
many.
know. Okay, your most
Like I can't
favorite
even think
one.
of one. Oh, actually, one of my
Yeah.
favorites is the pastime with Krishna and the fruit seller.
Ah, yeah.
And yes, I really love that one. So it's a story that for me shows that like whatever you have, you might think you have nothing, but there's always something that you can give, either to others or to Krishna and whatnot. And they don't see what you see, which is usually like little that I can't offer much and whatnot. So through that story, like it just shows that everyone has something
Yeah.
to give. Um, and Krishna accepts like just a little something that you want to give. So from a little, there's like a lot more to give. Yeah, so that is one of my favorite Bhagavatam stories. Not sure we can get into the actual pastime. If I can even remember the details, I tend to mix up
You
like
do.
pastimes. So I'm just trying to reach out. But yeah, I read it in Krishna book because, like I said, I like things in story form.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is my favorite story from the Bhagavatam.
See, I like that. Like also just like immediately because you've read it and you've like sort of meditated on it, immediately there's like some sort of an appreciation, but there is also something like more that actually touches the heart that you carry with you. And like with this one that you were describing, it's that like that our sincerity is the thing that is basically appreciated regardless of
Yes,
whatever it is that we're offering, and that's the very thing that actually touches Krishna's heart or the divine's heart, and also other people's hearts as well. So it's like, see, it's
that's
literature is active, it's alive, it's like that's what I really like about the Bhagavatam. It's really just so alive.
yes. And the beautiful thing about it is you can read the same
Yeah.
pastime over and over again, and it'll still feel like new. Like for instance, when I spoke about the science of self-realization, thinking about the number of times that I went back and reread it, and I had a, like a fresh experience of it and stuff. So like these pastimes, it shows that they're not just like mundane stories. Because if we think about it, like Eat, Pray, Love, I it was great for me. I enjoyed the book. I enjoyed the movie, but I never watched the movie again.
Yeah.
Um, I think I gave away my copy to someone else at some point over the years. But with Bhagavatam pastimes, it's like you can read the same pastimes over and over again, and there's a different lesson in them. And like you touched on how like it's like the histories and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, but it's so relevant to this day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like what is so precious about it is that you can learn a lesson right now, 2020, November 1st, during a pandemic, and it'll still be relevant.
Yeah.
And I can read it a year from now, and it'll still be relevant. And it can literally be the same pastime. It doesn't even need to be different pastimes, but somehow it's still relevant to life.
Yeah, I like that also. It's that, like you were saying, you read it and you can read it over and over, and there's still so much that you can get from it. And it's like when you're actually reading, it's sort of like you read it again, and it's like, did I actually read this part before? It's like,
I know.
it's something else, it's like did I come across that before? And what's interesting also is that like when you are reading it, sometimes it's like, hey, I was just thinking about that, like I was just wondering about it, and you come across it. And
Yeah.
so it, like you said, it's like the literature is very relevant, even though it's describing like pastimes that may have occurred, from a historical point of view. It may have happened some time ago, but nevertheless, the principles of bhakti are still being so eloquently presented, and there's so much that we can still draw from it. So I really liked your fruit selling, your pastime. Actually, Rukmini was she was telling me I'm like a fruit vendor, just and she was telling me that same story. So it's like coming up again today, the whole fruit thing, live
Oh.
fruit basically. So yeah, I really like that how you bonded with the literature as well. It's quite inspiring. We have the BYS readings on Saturdays as well, so it's quite nice. Everybody's getting into the whole thing, you know. And would you like to share with us your how you went to India on pilgrimage and that kind of thing?
I went on pilgrimage way too long ago. I should go again. I went about 7 years ago, I think. So I had this intense desire because of reading like the pastimes in Krishna book, for instance. Like I really had this desire to like go to the places mentioned in Krishna book and all that. But at the time, like there was just like no practical way for me to go about it. And it was like a very complicated thing to navigate with my family. Like I said, I came from a Christian background and whatnot, so they were also trying to figure out, okay, what is this philosophy you're dabbling in and that sort of thing. But somehow, my father, like who is not even a practicing Christian, was just like, oh, you want to go to India? I'll pay for your ticket to
What?
go to
Wow.
India. So I ended up. My initial trip was only supposed to be 6 weeks. It ended up being 8.5
Wow.
weeks long because of technological glitches. So I got to spend 2.5 weeks longer than I initially planned. But yeah, I got to experience the places of where certain pastimes from Krishna book were. I went with the Bhakti Yoga Society in Stellenbosch, which is referred
Yeah,
to
I
as the
remember that.
Spirituality, Philosophy, and Yoga Society, like I mentioned. So we all went as a group, and it was kind of like a guided tour and everything. Um, it was really enriching experience because, like I said, when I first read Eat, Pray, and Love, I really resonated with the India part. So to actually like go to India and not just go as a holiday and actually go with a purpose like of pilgrimage was like a really enriching experience for me. So I really got to enjoy that. And like I said, I got to spend a longer like period of time than I initially planned, which I was very grateful for. And yeah, like I said, it's been 7 years now, so I'm really grateful that I got to spend a little more time with I
Yeah.
would like to go back soon. It's just that over the years, either work or other family commitments have gotten in the way. But it's an experience that I'd like to go through again. And those who are able to, I would encourage um, that they go through that experience once the new normal
Oh,
is not so restrictive in terms of
Corona.
travel and all that.
And so you mentioned how you felt inspired by actually the by Krishna book and the literature and that to actually visit those places. And do you feel that that like strengthened your sort of your practice in a sense and your inspiration and enthusiasm to actually have visited those actual places that were described?
Yes. Personally, I really do feel that. And I feel like those places carry a certain energy
Mm-hmm.
with them. So it's like the people who've gone there before, the people who experience pastimes there, whether it's from Krishna book or other teachers who've gone afterwards, it feels like there's like a certain potency within there. And if you really go with that consciousness of wanting to delve deep into like those pastimes and everything, it can be a very like empowering experience where you um, somehow through the energy of the place, the people that have been there, the whole purpose of why they go there, it has been a really like interesting but also like empowering experience for me. So it's deepened my practice and whatnot. So even now when I hear like another pastime. Maybe I'm like in a class or a seminar. I'm like, oh, I know that place.
Oh,
And then you remember, like I remember the experiences that I had there and how that has helped enriched my spiritual practice and all that. So there's a great appreciation for the places, the people, and also how they've helped me in my own personal
it was
practice.
definitely an 8 weeks that made a deep impression, eh?
Yeah, 8 weeks seems like a long time, but it can feel like a really short time
Yeah.
as well. But yeah, I'm very grateful to the Stellenbosch UIS group for taking me through that. It was really like really special. I remember at some point like there was a theme for the whole pilgrimage experience, and when we went to one place called Vrindavan, we had a Sweets of Vrindavan theme. So every night we'd meet and then we'd share our realizations, and then they would share all the different sweets. I didn't get to experience most of them because I'm
Yeah.
not a sweet person. But it was still like a nice experience, like having to hear other people's realizations of the same places you went to and to hear how they experience the same place but have like maybe different realizations about it. So that was really beautiful. We were also encouraged to have travel journals and stuff.
Oh,
So I still have that. So every once in a while I'll go back to that and see like, oh, what did I do on this day and like how did it help me? And sometimes I usually go through that experience when I'm really going through a difficult time in terms of like either like personal experience or like my spiritual um, practice and whatnot. So going back and trying to relive that helps me get through that
yeah.
certain time. So yeah.
Becomes a source of strength and inspiration as well.
Yes, yes. So I would encourage journaling. Like I encourage journaling to anyone and everyone that like journal whatever experiences you have and because that can help you in a different time and all that. So journaling is Nila's a journaling advocate.
Last week we had Mukundangiri and he was describing to us how he actually started journaling when he was 13. And he was saying,
13.
yeah, it's quite a thing.
I started way late.
And he was saying that it was his mother who said to him that, write a letter to God. And that's how he got into the whole thing of journaling. But I think it's nice also, actually, that opportunity to express yourself and then you also
Yes.
you grow from that as well.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
and then you've also been involved with some nice projects like we'll just try and get before the time ends, see how much you can describe to us because we're interested in knowing.
Mhm.
So you've got a new project, but Wake Up South Africa, and so you've been
Yes.
helping out there and stuff. And you've got some really nice programs with some really nice speakers in there. And would you like to tell us a bit about that?
So Wake Up South Africa is a project that came about to sort of give those people who feel they haven't had either the support or the experience of experiencing the culture of Bhakti Yoga in a way that is like comfortable for them. So it's still very new, only a few months old, but on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. South African time, we have what we call Sunday inspiration sessions. So on there, we have different speakers, and they speak on different topics that they're familiar with and whatnot. So it's a very like informal kind of setting and whatnot. You can ask questions, and if you don't understand something, the speaker can explain to you. But it's like another way for those who want an informal way to be introduced to the philosophy or whatnot in a way that feels comfortable to them, but is also enriching. So through that, I've actually gotten to start friendships and stuff. Like a few weeks ago, we had a seminar with Vraj Leela Mataji from America and
Oh, that.
stuff. And one of the participants like asked her a question, and then I just like texted her privately. I was like, "Oh, I really liked your question," and then she was like, "Would it be really weird if I invited you on Facebook or Instagram or something?" I was like, yeah, it would, but it's okay. So you also get to like experience other aspects of it where you develop new relationships with
Yeah.
people. But also, like I said, even when I was speaking about the reading of the pastimes and whatnot, like hearing different pastimes or different ideas from someone else, sometimes you get different realizations. You're like, oh, I didn't really think
Yeah.
about things that. So it's like a very like interesting projects. Look out for Wake Up South Africa. We've got more programs coming up, and you can check that out on the Instagram and the Facebook pages. Wake Up South Africa on Facebook and WUSA WUSA 108 on Instagram. Yeah, so we've got like more stuff coming up. Very exciting stuff. I don't want to ruin the
Ah, tell
experience for
us,
everyone.
tell us. But so you guys
No,
have
you follow
the programs on
Satya.
Sundays at 10 o'clock, right? And
Yes,
what is it that? Oh, and it's a Zoom session, right? And then it's live
yes.
on the Facebook. Okay.
It's yeah, also streamed live on Facebook. So if you can't catch it live, you can just always catch the recordings on the Facebook page.
Yeah, what I like about the style of the presentation as well is that it's because that sort of to some extent that formal aspect of it's not just like a sit down class kind of thing. It allows
Yeah,
that opportunity to actually just ask a question kind of thing, and it's the way the classes are structured. It's like it's quite relevant and it actually touches the heart and it's inspiring. So I attended Bhuj Bhavana Prabhu's class this morning. It was quite nice.
I saw you this morning.
Yeah, yeah. I managed to like get some time in there, so I attended it. It was quite nice, and I came for Premananda's also the other time, and Kadamakana and Swami also had a program. Raj Leela, I think I had something. I never attended. I didn't manage to attend that one, but yeah.
What's on Facebook?
Yeah, yeah, you guys got a Facebook page now, right? So everything is saved. But it's really nice. It's inspiring. And you've also been involved with the Soweto Rath Yatra festivals and all of that as well as communications, right?
Yes. So around about 2017, I met up with someone I'd heard about for many years, but never got the opportunity to meet with. Her name is Charu Chanri.
Yeah.
So we have the same teacher. And she was like, "Oh, hi." And I was like, "Oh, I heard so much about you." She's like, "Well, I've never really heard much about you." But then I heard that you're a teacher, so maybe you can help with the communications team. I was like, "That's not my speciality." She was like, "No, like you'll figure it out as you go along and stuff." And I don't know what I've been doing, but clearly I haven't gotten myself fired yet. So I ended up doing that 2017 up until last year. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic and
Yeah.
everything, uh, we didn't plan to have the festival this year. But
Yeah.
yes, I've been involved with the communications team, like inviting the speakers, also facilitating the questions and answers tent with another devotee named Buntle.
Oh, yeah.
So it's been a really enriching experience getting to meet new people through all these opportunities to serve and give of yourself to others.
Yeah. This year hasn't quite been the same without the Festival of Chariots, eh?
Yeah, it's so it's kind of like a weird experience that I've had this year. We
Yeah.
you kind of like accept that certain things won't happen the way they did,
Mm.
but then when it's closer to the time, all of a sudden you have a different like sunken feeling. You're like, oh man,
Yeah.
I should have like taken advantage of it like earlier and whatnot. Now I won't get to experience it. I'm not even sure when it's gonna happen
Mm,
again. So yeah, treasure those memories.
yeah. But I don't know. Hopefully next year we'll have all of the
Yeah,
festivals again. But
yeah, it's a nice way to connect.
yeah. I mean, currently some parts of Europe are experiencing their second wave and all.
Yes.
And we're apparently due to have ours in December. Hopefully it's not as severe as the first one. But yeah,
Yeah.
so then we can resume all our festival programs and things like that. Have our festival of chariots and that. And you mentioned to me that you like gardening as well.
I think I over
But
I, I think I might have like sold a dream that's like not really true. So gardening in the sense of
yeah.
houseplants. I'm not really an expert or anything, but I got a houseplant in 2017. I was going through a very difficult time, and a colleague of mine decided that a houseplant would be the best way, like gift for me and whatnot. And myself and that houseplant, her name is
Oh
Dolly.
my God.
She's a Ega Monstera deliciosa. She has a sister named Molly.
Dolly
Uh,
Abdullah.
yeah, so Dolly came to me at a very difficult time
Okay.
and whatnot, and somehow has through helped me through that experience. And if you ever meet Dolly, you will see what I mean. Like Dolly's a lesson on resilience, and like what I've had to
Yeah.
um, overcome. And yeah, Dolly teaches me every day that like if you just stick it through, you can make it
Dolly.
and stuff. So the gardening, I mean more like house plants. At some point, I had about 15 house plants.
Wow.
Um, because I had to move into the temple, I gave some away. Very difficult decision to make. And currently, I think I have about 8. So unfortunately, some of them didn't really make it
Oh,
because I'm not so expert. But yeah, they teach me lessons. Like I was speaking to someone recently about how I came across a thread on Twitter, and this lady was talking about how plants can actually teach us a lot about
mm,
relationships, personal relationships in life, whether it's work relationships, romantic relationships, friendships, parent-child relationships, anything like that. Because with plants, you can't undergive and you also can't overgive, like in terms of like water or sunlight or whatever other things that the plant needs. So plants teach us to um, give what the plant needs, meaning what the relationship needs and whatnot. And you can't like can kind of be like, oh, but I give you this, I give you so much sunlight, I give you water and whatnot. Why are you not growing? Why are you dying and that sort of thing? So in terms of like our human relationships, like plants can teach us like those lessons. So yeah, gardening in that sense, I suppose, in any sense actually, is like it can be a form of meditation and be very introspective and enriching experience.
it's it's
Yeah.
it's nice actually. I like that approach. I think it's in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam. There's some description of how certain things can actually like teach us. And like cheese is like tolerance and water is transparent, like to be transparent in our relationships and things. And I think also Pathamaj also mentioned that. So
Yes.
Dolly and Molly are good friends to have. What
Yes, I hope you get to meet them one day.
what plants are they, by the way?
They're Monstera
Are you
deliciosas,
serious?
which in English translates to delicious monster. Yeah, but they most people know them as the split leaf um, or cheese plant. You've probably like seen
Yeah.
them. They're like so popular. At some point, they were all over Instagram. They were like the plants of the season or whatnot for aesthetics. But yeah, Molly and Dolly are Monstera delicious. I have a few others. I have a peace lily. Her name is Lily. I had a peperomia. Her name was Pepper. I have a Porthos, his name is Porthos, and I have a Boston fern, and his name is Boston. And by the time I got to my snake plant, I was like all out of names or just like over the whole experience. So I named my snake plant Snakey, which is not creative at all. And recently I got like orchids.
Oh, okay.
I
Nice.
don't really have names for them yet, but a friend of mine
No,
suggested
don't.
the name. Yeah, a friend of mine suggested Joseph and Josephine for the orchid twins. So I'm still deciding, is that the appropriate name?
But it's nice. I think plants also, like, they change the atmosphere of the environment in the home as well.
They do. They do. They really are alive. Like you go through school and you learn about like how plants, soil, everything is alive. But when you actually like live with them or come into a space, you really get to experience that. Because like they communicate with you. Like if you over giving like with water or under giving, they'll let you know, like, hey, no, you're doing this wrong. Let me show you how to do it and stuff. And unfortunately, like I said, sometimes if you're not listening,
Yeah.
it can with plant like dying, but because they're alive, they get to experience a different life or nourish the soil or everything. So that's how I kind of like console myself whenever things don't go um, too well with the plant babies. But yeah, they're really alive. They have real energy about them.
Mm. It's nice because I think it also is like, it helps us to become more conscious, when you have to take care of them.
Yes, mindful.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've got a tiny little succulent like plant thing, and my insect sticks.
Oh,
Can you see it? It's like a plant.
yes,
It was like a big thing
yes,
before, and then when these little leaves drop off, then another plant grows. So this is the last remaining
yes.
survivor of its kind, and I'm hoping that it grows really nicely. But it's nice, little,
I hope so too.
sunshine, a little bit of water, and it's happy. Yeah. Anyway, it's nearly coming to the end of the session. Like time flew by so quickly, right? And Instagram was
Oh,
like we've got about I think 12 minutes or so left. But is there anything like that you'd like to share with everybody in terms of like bhakti? I mean, we spoke about all kinds of interesting things. We spoke about like how you came to bhakti, and we spoke about your inspiration through literature and through food. And even though you like broccoli that's roasted, some food and music and travel, and also being involved in so many different projects of actually sharing bhakti with others and creating that platform of where they can actually access it in a way that's relatable to them. So I mean, I personally I found the session discuss just chatting with you quite inspiring, and also the frit pastime. I like that. I like that. Gonna think about it tonight and for the next few days. But is there anything else that you would like to share with everybody of like, like if they're encountering, some challenge in a spiritual practice, and how to overcome it, or anything like, what's on your mind?
firstly, I'd just like to drive the point that like what I really like about the philosophy of Bhakti Yoga and the practice of Krishna consciousness is that you don't really need to be someone you're not. So one of your speakers from 2 weeks ago, Premananda Kirtan,
Mm.
studied music, and he came across this philosophy, and at the time he was like, oh, I need to drop this
Mm.
music thing and whatnot, and then through like some his spiritual teacher, he got to realize that he can engage that aspect of himself in music. And Mukadangri from last week was speaking about like his experiences, and like a simple thing like his mom telling him
Mm.
to have conversations with God through a notebook and a pen. And somehow later on, years later in his life, he got in touch with Bhakti Yoga, and that's not something he had to
Mm.
um, let go of and whatnot. And like with my experience, whether it was like plants, music, reading, whatnot, I got to experience that. So that's the beauty of the Bhakti Yoga tradition, that you can engage whatever like propensities in a positive way, that you have your likes, and that's really beautiful, because now you just my personal experience, this is not everyone's experience, but to some degree, before I came in contact with Krishna consciousness, I felt somewhat limited in certain practices and whatnot. And like I said, I never really got the answers I needed, but I got to meet people. This poor person made this kitchery that didn't look really nice to me, but because they gave their heart and soul into it, it ended up tasting nice, and it brought me back. And here I am almost 10 years later. So you never know like how what you do touches other people, or how it impacts other people and stuff. So anyone who's going through challenges and thinks that they don't have anything to give, or whatnot, you have no idea how like a little something, like a little reaching out, a little doing what you do really inspires others. So I'd really like to encourage people to not dwell too much in like those challenging experiences, and like through the literature we were speaking about, the somehow you could read the same pastime or a new pastime, and somehow it's just the one you need,
Mm.
like it's just what you need at the time. So prayers get answered in the most like miraculous ways, and sometimes those miracles find you, sometimes you have to go find them yourself. But yeah, like the challenges are not the be all and end all. Like I was speaking to a friend yesterday um, about the topic of going through challenges in spiritual life, and I got reminded of a quote. I can't remember who it's by, but it said, things are not falling apart, they're falling into place.
Oh.
So always have that faith that like things are not falling apart, they're just falling into place, and challenges don't last forever. And yeah, you'll get to experience better days. But I think like even from challenges, we can learn lessons from there and stuff. So that's why like journaling is like really good and whatnot. Yeah, like another like website that like I also use like for the journaling. It's called futureme.org. So you can write letters to your future self.
Oh wow.
So over the years, I'd write letters to myself when like things were going well and things were going not so well and stuff. And you can pick a date of when you can send this letter to your future self. And what I really like about it is that they usually come when you've forgotten about like this letter you wrote to yourself. So they come as a surprise in a way. They get sent to your email address, and I kid you not, every time I've gotten one of those letters, it's what I needed at that specific time. So I don't know how present me knew that in the future, somehow on a specific day, I will need certain words to help ground me and remind me that challenges are not a permanent thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there's lots of like resources out there that can
I like
enrich people's
it's
practices.
kind of like a little time capsule sort of thing.
It is a time capsule. It really is. When I discovered it, I was like, yes, I love it. What I need.
Yeah. It sounds kind of
Yeah.
cool, like, to get something back from your frame of mind from so many years ago. It's quite mad.
Yeah.
Neela, it's really been great chatting with you, and I personally found everything that it was really sincerely very inspiring speaking with you. And now I know more about you, things that I didn't know. So I like that as well. That I feel like I know you more now, you know. And I know that you like broccoli as well. And also, what I
Roast broccoli.
roast
You must remember roast
roasted.
broccoli. Salt, pepper, olive oil, nothing too
Yeah,
complicated.
I love it. It sounds so nice, you know, fresh vegetables. Um, what I really liked in what you were saying, we literally have 4 more minutes left, but what I really liked is that how you were describing how you don't have to be somebody else, you know,
Yeah.
that all you have to do is just be yourself, and
Yeah.
that there's so much of like variety of expression within bhakti itself that you will just sort of like find your niche, you find your place, you know?
Your space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
There's like room for everyone.
yeah, exactly. Because oftentimes it's sort of like, sometimes if you're coming into a practice or a community or something, we may have that mind frame that, like, now I have to adjust so many things and this and that. And maybe externally a few things we may adjust, just to enhance the practice
Mm.
itself. But other than that, I think it's that bhakti is, in a sense, it's like it's so accepting of like where you at and who you are, and it enhances
Yes.
your own personality, it brings out who you actually are, and whatever skills and affinities that you have, um, you can express that as well. So I really like how you
Yeah.
said that, like how you don't have to try to be somebody else or something else. And I also liked how you said
Yeah.
that, whatever it is that we do, we never realize how much of value it can actually give to another person. Because, I like that. Because sometimes we may overlook the things that we do, but it can actually be the source of great inspiration and strength to somebody that actually needs it at a particular time. So I liked how you were saying that as well with the
Yeah.
fruit.
Yes. But also, like, I'd encourage people to like also be open to new experiences. I, for one, even though like I used to be a teacher and I still teach to some degree, not formally though. Like when you sent me a message to say, "Hey, can you do this Bhakti Journey thing?" I was like, I don't like talking in public like that. But like it's also been an inspiring experience for me. So I'd encourage people to just be open to new experiences as well and not be convinced that, oh no, I only like this or whatnot. Just be open and if, just be sincere, just be yourself,
Yeah,
and then who knows where your spiritual journey might take you
yeah.
and all that.
Rukmini was also describing a similar thing the other day. She was saying how it is that during the lockdown now that we've done so many different sorts of services, in the temple that previously
Mm.
we may not have actually gotten involved in before,
Yeah.
So it also allows the opportunity to develop and grow in so many other things. So bhakti's pretty cool, it seems.
It is. It is. It's so cool. And you know what? We're still going to experience more of it. This is not even like the end of it all.
Yeah.
So,
We literally have 1 minute. We're gonna get cut off. But it was super inspiring speaking with you, Neela, and we definitely have to have another program with you sometime because I actually like hearing all of your stories, and I hope that Dolly and Molly will be well. And
I hope so too.
yeah, it was really inspiring. So I have to end it now before we get kicked out.
Thank you so
But
much.
thank you so much,
It
and
was
Hari
nice chatting to you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.